Kenny Omega is turning heel. I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to the AEW Dynamite / Part 3, Section 2A. Fight for the Fallen. That's what it was called.
It was Fight for the Fallen, yes. It was not Fighter Fest this time.
Not Fighter Fest, it was Fight for the Fallen. It was always totally the plan. If you think maybe it was always the plan, we've got 2 nights. We're wrong for NXT. They'll put on the Great American Bash. Ha! There was a 3rd night. There was an extra pay-per-view hidden up our sleeves.
There was a smaller roof underneath the bigger roof.
For me, though, I actually enjoyed this the most out of the last 3 weeks of kind of TV special events. And it was chiefly because great wrestling and this incredible storyline that has been running for, since October, since Dynamite started. And that I can see it working across the entire chessboard. And I think I know where it's going to go. But at the same time, I think there are multiple options it can go down. This is fantastic storytelling, and it's the tale of the elite. Not just Kenny and this potential heel turn that we really strongly saw hints of here, but also Hangman Page fracturing away from the group. What are the Young Bucks going to do? And Cody seems to be going down his own heelish path.
Yeah, and this was some really, really incredible storytelling stuff, because I think since, the start of this year, we've been looking at, when is Hangman Page going to be the one to turn? And then we started to get a lot of people, because Hangman Page, after he became the tag champ, got massively over as a babyface because people were so invested in the story and loved seeing the cowboy do some cowboy S-word. So then we started to see the flip the other side of people sending in super chats and discussions being about, what if it's Kenny? What if Kenny's the one that turns heel? And I hadn't really thought about it much, but this show kind of said to me, it's like, maybe that is the right way to go when the crowds come back and they're going to be really happy to see Hangman Page. What if it's Kenny's the one that actually turns and goes back into that cleaner mode, which is, it's been teased on being the elite?
I've been saying it from January, February time. I've been saying, look, Hangman Page is getting over so much as this badass babyface in front of the crowd that I think the actual money is in turning Kenny and the Young Bucks heel, and Page is kind of this anti-hero uber face, which is crazy to say, and a real masterclass of booking, because I don't think this is by accident. I don't think AEW have changed their plans to turn Kenny heel and Hangman Page face because of the audience reaction, especially at the moment. There is no audience reaction. I think this was all a designed plan to get Page over as the 3-dimensional babyface, because when they first tried it against Chris Jericho, he was out of his depth and he didn't have that extra layer, which he now has. And it is so connecting with me as a viewer, and I think with everyone else. And to be honest, have I ever been into Kenny Omega as a babyface? No, he's very good. He's very good. But when I think of Kenny, I still think of cleaner. I think of Bullet Club leader. I think of good night and good luck. So this is the Kenny that I want.
And it was so interesting. Oh, I love this. But a couple of weeks ago when you had that segment with FTR and the Young Bucks, when, they tipped the beer out and they did all of this sort of, or Kenny Omega tipped the beer out, and it was like, it's a bit of a dick move, that Kenny. Be like, yeah, but you can also see the other side of it. Kenny here came out, I got a bit frustrated today when I turned on Twitter to see Jimmy Corderas, who I think just watches AEW to have a whinge about it on Twitter and rile people up. And he completely worked me in that regard, where he said, oh God, can you imagine having the best wrestler in the world sell for Marco Stunt? And I'm like, oh mate, you've totally missed the point then, because it all builds on from the segment that came just before that, which is where he came out to address FTR after they beat the Lucha Bros, to be like, hey, look, really sorry about the beer situation. Here's a beer. I might even have a drink with you, even though I'm teetotal. That's how much I'm changing my ways. And they were like, nope. and they dunk the beer over Kenny Omega. So Kenny then starts freaking out. The Young Bucks are pulling him back. So he then comes out for this match against Jurassic Express, not trying. He is not in Kenny mode. He doesn't even take his t-shirt off. You've got the commentators putting over so hard. Kenny is not taking this seriously whatsoever. So then when he gets embarrassed by Marco Stunt, it just fuels him even further. So you have Marco Stunt embarrassing him and FTR embarrassing him. That makes him snap after this match and continues to beat it down. But what I loved about this is when he's beating it down, when he's beating down Marco after the match, and you've got Luchasaurus kind of pulling him aside, being like, what's going on? And Kenny just goes, it's part of the match. And Luchasaurus goes, it was after the match. And Kenny's like, yeah, well, it's just part of the match, isn't it? It's just part of the business.
Oh, he's such a good actor. That's it. Like, wrestlers are great wrestlers, but very rarely, though, do you get very good wrestlers who are also genuinely believable. I would buy them in a TV network drama kind of actor. And that's what Kenny has here. And to tell that story of frustration, and the way Stunt is booked, I think is brilliant. It's similar to Orange Cassidy in that low effort mode, where it's not that he is physically hurting people. It's almost like he's annoying people. He's this gnat. It's always it's some force of momentum that gets him to do a tornado DDT or a Hurricane Rana or an insane Canadian destroyer on Nick Jackson off of Luchasaurus's shoulders and into the ring. Like, that's how you book Marco. It doesn't actually physically hurt people. It plays into this humiliation side of Omega and how much pettier that is.
Yeah.
And I just think, he didn't just show that kind of disregard of the rules and kind of, like you said, lying to Jurassic Express. He also came across as quite psychotic. He was Joker-style smiling and laughing at the end, not in an overdone way, which a lot of people tend to do, I feel. I thought he struck that balance perfectly.
One of my favorite spots off the match where you saw, this is Kenny being a bit psychotic, and this is not the same Kenny Omega we've been seeing, for the last few months or so, is so Marco's against the ring and Kenny's setting up to do the V-trigger, and Luchasaurus sort of jumps in to protect Marco's stunt and be like, don't hit my friend. So Kenny just goes like, right, I'll just F you instead then. So he just runs up and F's Luchasaurus in the face to be like, right, and now he's mine. And then when Marco Stunt gets another near fall on him, he's just like, right, that is it, you little brat. Lifts him up and hits this wicked one-wing angel to get the win. I thought Kenny was... I really enjoyed the 6-man anyway, because, it's the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Jurassic Express. It's always going to be dead fun. Particularly, I thought Jungle Boy was awesome in it. But I thought Kenny was just on another level. And you couple that, you've got Hangman Page watching backstage with the drink and FTR approach him.
This is it. This is the larger tapestry that AEW just Marvel Cinematic Universe-ing their way into. Like, this is Tony Khan might as well be Kevin Feige right now, because you've not just got Kenny splitting from the Elite, seemingly, because there's a lot of tension between him and Hangman Page, the tag team champions. They've got this kind of professional relationship. Page has already said it's no longer a friendship. This is a professional thing. But how long is that going to take if Kenny keeps acting out in this way? When is Page going to sort of put his morals above professionalism and say, mate, stop it? And where are the Bucks going to fall in this? Like, the Bucks, to me, they kind of work heel occasionally. I see them siding with Omega. FTR, it feels like the long feud is FTR versus the Bucks. So that would put FTR with Hangman Page. There's a combination I never knew I wanted. However, in the larger AEW universe, Tully Blanchard has been out scouting for people in matches. And it seems to be only for Cody matches and FTR matches. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of Four Horsemen teases. And we've said ourselves, I think a super chatter first asked it, FTR, Sean Spears and Cody Rhodes with Arn and Tully as a new Four Horsemen. Now that's a faction I can get behind with a heel elite and a Hangman Page rogue member. Oh,
Well, it was amazing. So someone tweeted me today to sort of give in their sort of 2 cents on this subject and post something that I didn't really think about, because I always thought All Out, All Out 2, we're going to be building towards FTR versus the Young Bucks, because that's the match, right? That's the match we all want to see. But someone said, like, what if at All Out it's a 6-man and it's FTR and Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks and Omega? And that got me thinking of, like, what an amazing, not just a brilliant match it'd be, but what a wicked poster as well, where you've got the tag team champions on opposite teams. I think there's something really spicy within that I really like.
Oh, it is spicy. Yeah, I just thought it was excellent storytelling, and in the best way of these kinds of angles and character turns. And this wasn't like shock heel turn. This was first incremental step to a larger piece of character development and overall an arc, which I much prefer. The shock stuff has its place, definitely, but ultimately the long stories, the long booking is the most sort of dramatically satisfying. But it just makes me so excited about the future of the company. It makes me excited about seeing next week's episode, to see what happens next. And that's all you can ask for.
I was going to say, next week's episode's got Hangman Page in a singles match against 5 from the Dark Order, with Brody Lee in the corner. And, like, on paper, you're like, it's Hangman Page versus 5. Who the F is 5 in the Dark Order? But with all of this, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see that Hangman Page match, because it's not really about the match now. I just want to see what all the outside stuff could be. And the Dark Order, they're ranked number 1 in the tag division. So there's some stuff there as well. I'm just, I'm dead excited.
Oh yeah, those rankings are really stuck to as well. I guess you've got, because you'll have 5 with the Dark Order out there. That's a numbers advantage. Page might want his own buddies, but at the same time, he said, "Don't come out, don't accompany me." I love it. Should we see what the super chats have to say? Everyone, get your super chats in throughout the show. We will read out every single one of them. Mike Montel has said, there is more money in a heel Omega than a heel Page.
I got to agree as well, actually. I think, people have been, since AEW started, have been begging for that Kenny Omega. We've been waiting for the best bout machine. That's the Kenny Omega we've been sort of searching for. And I think turning him heel, that might be the way to get that best bout machine.
I think there is a way where we could have had super cool baby face best bout machine Omega at the start, as opposed to slightly bored, disinterested, I'm walking through Tokyo with a rucksack on Omega. And then we get the Bullet Club leader, the cleaner, Kenny Omega. Dwayne Cooley, could we talk about how sturdy the necks of the Bucks must have to be? They've taken 90% of Canadian destroyers in AEW, sort of a sweating face emoji. What if this Kenny storyline leads back to Moxley for the title?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that I'd love to see Kenny to be the one to take the belt off of Moxley. So maybe a heel turn Kenny to then feud with Mox, I think would be great.
That's how I see it happen in my head. I really, really like the idea of Omega beating Moxley for the title, especially considering that kind of trifecta history they have going back to Double or Nothing 1 with Chris Jericho and Omega in the main event, and then Moxley coming out. There's so much story you can work with there. Michael Dominguez, however, says 4 Horsemen, Cody, FTR, and Omega. Spears is a red herring.
I was thinking that when we were having a chat about the 4 Horsemen, we've been throwing Sean Spears in there, and you said, like, where does Hangman Page fit into all this? Like, do you put Page into the 4? You don't want to make it a 5-man team, because then like it's like Fortune then, whereas like it doesn't really, the name doesn't work when you've got 6 members. Spears being a red herring is an interesting idea, though.
Yeah, you sort of, I guess you would run the angle like they finally reveal themselves and Tully comes out with Sean and they're all laughing, and then they all beat up Sean. Yeah. And then they bring out the real 4th member, whoever that is. Christopher Jazzcat loved Kenny going after Marco and going too far. Loved the cleaner. He was a complex character. The best heels have a point. Raven, Daniel Bryan.
But did Daniel Bryan have a point, though? Because the commentary team kept telling me that he was wrong to care about the planet.
Yorkshire Rob, the new 4 Horsemen versus the Bucks. Kenny and Hardy versus the Inner Circle Blood and Guts match.
We still haven't had that bloody Blood and Guts match, have we?
Oh my God, that's 8. That's a 12-man match, what they're proposing there. Probably more. Matthew Shield, heel Kenny takes the belt from Mox down the line. Totally agree. El Fermentado, FTR is playing with the minds of the elite.
Yeah, oh yeah, they are 100. They are living rent free within the mind of the elite at the moment. The bit with Kenny, man, and because as well they did such a nice thing for FTR, they got them their truck back, and FTR said thank you by pouring beer over Kenny Omega, and then essentially just being like, "No, we're off now. See you later, lads."
And when they just walked into the bar where Hangman Page was watching the 6-man tag, I just love it when stuff happens that I wouldn't have thought of, because we fantasy book stuff so much, and that's cool when that happens because I think the stuff that we all agree on is a good idea. But when someone comes up with a better idea than my best idea, there's no feeling like it. Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's get in with the whole show.
Before that, it's time to make that announcement. Who's going to be on the magazine show tomorrow? Oh, hey, Ollie, have you ever won Celebrity Masterminds?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I haven't won many quizzes in my time.
But this man has. Adam Pearson is going to be on tomorrow's WrestleTalk podcast with myself. And because he's based in the UK, that means I can record it on a Friday morning, which means I will be able to talk about the ratings this week.
Actual BBC presenter, actual movie star, well, kind of movie star. He was in, Under the Skin, wasn't it, with Scarlett Johansson?
Yes. So Adam Pearson is on the show tomorrow. Very much looking forward to having a chat with him.
Excellent man. We've met him a few times. He's come to a few of the live shows we've done. He's always up in the comments, and he is a man after Luke's own nerdy heart.
Oh yeah. When we were chatting with him at the Prince Charles about him going on to Celebrity Mastermind, and his chosen topics were either the WWF, or it was like Final Fantasy VII, or like the Resident Evil franchise. I'm like, oh mate, you are a man after my own heart.
He's one of us. He's our people. We should have like a questionnaire where you just you just write down a few things that you're into, and we can judge if we want to be your friend. If you're in the inner WrestleTalk circle, if you share common interests, because some wrestling fans prefer sports to comic books.
No,
I know.
If you're on there, it's just like, would you rather watch football or DuckTales? Like that's the question to ask before you bring them in.
Yeah, well, I don't know where I'd rank on that. So this episode of Dynamite was a Fight for the Fallen special. I thought they did a really good job of making it feel different. I think it is a shame that it came so close to the 2 nights of Fyter Fest, but circumstances are what they are. Opened up with JR, Excalibur, and Taz on commentary. I loved the touch of putting Taz on commentary just because it builds the main event for later on without doing it.
Yeah, so Tony he had some tests done for COVID, so he wasn't coming in for this show. He's at home. Get well soon, Tony Schiavone. We certainly missed you on commentary, but I thought Taz and later Jericho were excellent little replacements for them. I missed the banter between him and Britt Baker.
Yeah. Although Baker, I love it when heels just work together because they're heels. So, of course, Baker helped out Jericho with a towel later on. So the first match was Cody versus Sonny Kiss, who I missed it, but JR said she used the feminine pronoun. So I am very confused.
Well, yeah, so this happened during, they had the battle royal to crown the first number 1 contender to the TNT Championship. The Jungle Boy won. JR did it in that match as well, and someone sort of took him to task on Twitter, being like, "I'm not sure you should use that pronoun." He was like, "Well, actually, I mean, Sonny Kiss said he kind of identifies as both, so you can use both pronouns." So with Sonny Kiss, and Sonny Kiss was like, absolutely, yeah. JR is one of those people that is willing to learn and is willing to chat about this sort of thing, which is good to be sort of open-minded to this. That was really cool. I thought actually this was, I'm not going to say this was a star-making performance for Sonny Kiss, but this is Sonny Kiss's first proper Dynamite show. He's had tag matches with Joey Janela. He was in the Battle Royal. He's had a couple of bits and pieces here and there, but this felt like the actual Dynamite debut of Sonny Kiss. And I thought he stood up for himself very, very well, or whichever pronoun he does prefer.
I'm going to play it safe. Them, they, there. Okay, can't argue with them, they, there. So that, yeah, I agree. I think they've been protected in the Joey Janela match, for instance, like the tag match last week. They work so well together, and they're still, very early on in their career in that realm of people like Private Party or Jungle Boy. But this was a really good way. It was an opener. There wasn't much pressure of getting over Sonny, while I didn't know they were called the Concrete Rose as well. I think that's a badass name. Getting over their offense, which is really, really impressive. And the story of the match where they sort of came out the gate fighting, loads of high, flippy, athletic stuff going on. But then Cody, the veteran, ground them down. I thought this was more. I thought this was more Cody's story than it was a match. But the match between Sonny and Cody was fine.
Yeah, this was, again, kind of a story, kind of similar to the one that Kenny had, really, which was Cody, as sort of Arn Anderson put it, he needed to get his head out of his ass because he almost underestimated Sonny coming into this match. So when Sonny was getting offense on him, he was getting annoyed and he was getting wound up, and he started to go quite heelish towards the end, ripping off the turnbuckle pad, just being really, really vicious, arguing with the referee when he wasn't getting the 3 count. And then when Sonny got that wicked reversal of the crossroads and hit him with his own crossroads, and I loved the way that Taz was putting this over on commentary, saying like, there's nothing more embarrassing in this world than being beaten by your own move. And that just fueled Cody even more to be like, oh man, no, I'm ending this now. It's time to put you away.
Yeah.
You've had your fun. Like, it's been nice and fun and everything. I'm now just going to beat you. And then afterwards, just sort of hugging him and raising his hand afterwards to be like, yeah, look, I'm still Cody Rhodes. I'm still your brother babyface.
Yeah, so slow burn stuff. Tully was also shown a lot in the crowd, sort of like watching on, like it was shown about 4 or 5 times. So all of that was, I think very heavily foreshadowing. But I love it. I'm really excited to see where they go. A decent opener. But the match of the night for me, I've heard, like, we were talking about Meltzer and Alvarez's review of the show just before we went on air. You said that they weren't particularly fans of this match. I thought this was just a joy to watch. Someone once told me that they like Adele singing, not because they really enjoy their music, but because they know she's going to hit all the notes. And there's a comfort in that. And sometimes when the FTR, the Revival, wrestle, I just get that same sense of just like, it's just so satisfying to watch everything be so logical. I get a similar sense of satisfaction when I put things in Excel spreadsheets. But there is also that sort of creative side of the brain that wants something more impulsive and spontaneous. And that's what the Lucha Bros are. They're just so unpredictable, and they're flipping around. They're trying to follow tag team rules. They don't always succeed, but they're trying for FTR. And I just thought the combination of these two teams wasn't a Styles clash. It was like a Styles completion.
What I loved about this match, aside from, the great action between it, the Lucha Brothers sort of kind of, got a bit stuck out the gates. They're that moment when they're trying to do their sort of flippy wheelbarrow thing, which took them a long time to get right. But there was that moment. What I loved about this match was the character work that was done within this, because since coming into AEW, and even before coming into AEW, FTR's whole deal has been no flips, just fists. And it's all about tag rules, and it's about respecting tag rules. Into this match, Cash Wheeler did a dive. And Cash Wheeler doing a dive suddenly felt like the biggest thing. So I was like, oh, that man, he did a dive. They don't do the dives because they're not about the dives. And then the finish of this was Dax ripping off the mask of Ray Phoenix and using that to get the roller, because Ray Phoenix doesn't want to show his face. Because in Mexico, and this is a great work by the commentary team, thank you very much, commentary team. In Mexico, that's a DQ. If you rip off someone's mask, it's such a sign of disrespect that you get DQ'd for it. But they're not in Mexico. We're playing by American tag team rules. And, when they had that first promo, their sit-down promo, I think it was with JR, where they were like, these Mexicans, or, these lucha kids, they're wrestling by their lucha rules. We're not about the lucha rules where they're hopping in. So they played their lucha rules against them to get the upper hand on it. I loved it. Thought it was great.
USA. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a DQ rule in lucha wrestling. There's quite a few different tag team differences for how they structure the matches. Like you don't have to tag; you can just roll out the ring. But I never knew that about the masks.
Neither did I until the commentary pointed it out to me, which is why I would say credit to the commentary, because they were the ones who were getting over that finish and making that finish feel important. Really, really great stuff.
Yeah, Dax's hot tag was amazing, just throwing people around. He got busted open from a few chops that happened in the shrink screen ad break. I guess that's my only criticism, really. I know there was a botch at the start, but I don't really mind that when it's the Lucha Bros, because they try so much stuff. You've got to accept botches as part of the game. Like when you're running tightrope, running the top rope and stuff, like you can't expect everything to be seamless. It doesn't take me out of the match, but I can understand why it does for people who are more focused on that part of the art. But
Meltzer said that he thinks that AEW are building towards a 4-way tag of the Lucha Brothers, the Young Bucks, FTR, and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. I was like, oh, yes, please. That sounds very lovely.
Dark Order are the number 1 ranked team right now.
Why is it always the bloody Dark Order?
Spicy though. But just sorry. The only criticism I had was that there was an ad break. Some matches don't have ad breaks, and I would have preferred this one and the main event really to not have any ad breaks. It would have been nice to have those elsewhere, but you've got to work within the confines of TV, I guess. Just this fantastic sequence where there was the dive, the tope through the ropes at one point, but then both teams get up to do top rope splashes on, I think it was Dax and Pentagon were down, but both guys got the knees up on the ground. So it was like they're just matching each other beat for beat, and then they all stand up, and that it kind of echoes. It's kind of a revival trope, really, where the two teams stand up just like those DIY encounters, and they psych each other into the hockey fight. I loved this match. I thought it was so good, and that was followed by the post match, which we've already kind of covered. The Bucks come out and super kick Butcher and Blade, who were all, they stole FTR's truck a few weeks ago. AEW loves a stolen car storyline, it seems.
Oh yeah,
and that's when Kenny came out as well to offer the beer. So just like fantastic match. Great wrestlers, great characters, and then an excellent bit of story afterwards. That's perfect.
I loved it.
That is a good Wednesday night in. However, me and Luke haven't spoken about this yet.
Yeah, I was very, very curious to get your take on this, because my note on this next segment was, well, that was very silly. And then I thought that this would get a lot of heat. When I took to Twitter this morning, I thought this is going to be the segment where people are like, oh, this was super dumb. If this was in WWE, everyone had a yada, yada, yada. Instead, what I saw was everyone loving it. Was everyone saying that this was a home run segment? It was fantastic. Jericho was brilliant. Orange Cassidy was brilliant. So I was very curious to hear what you thought about it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was lame. I thought those concerns I said about Orange Cassidy's character last week, that he, that he is a rather one-note joke gimmick, and they've done an excellent job of adding layers to that since then. But now I would say it's not the time to go sillier. I think now is the time to pull back, because and it's nowhere near as bad as Suffering Succotash or Becky Lynch apologizing to the Authority. But moments like this, when I get this sort of feeling in my gut, is like, ooh, if this is left unchecked, it's gonna backfire on the person they're trying to get over. Because I think if you take, look, Jericho, Ortiz just so what happened? We should probably say Inner Circle came out without Sammy Guevara. Jericho declares himself the Demos God, which is very funny. It is a bit frustrating because, you know, AEW detractors make fun of the ratings and how AEW focus on the demos. So and AEW, like, we're not going to refer to it's not a wrestling war, it's not about that, and now they're explicitly saying it. I don't mind it because I think it's quite fun to lean into real life, but at the same time, it's just going to make those vocal people more vocal.
I think it works because it's Jericho. Like, I think anyone else doing, like, if it was Cody doing it, then it'd be like, oh god, this is rough. Or if it's Kenny Omega doing it, then it's really rough. But because it's Jericho, and Jericho's whole deal since coming to AEW was like, you're welcome, I'm waiting for my thank you, AEW, for putting you on the map. Calling himself the Demo God, and, you know, pointing out that he's getting the best, like Meltzer said in this review, was just like, oh, you want to be careful though, because you're undefeated in the demos for the moment. But what about when you do get beaten? So I think it works because it's Jericho. If it was me, probably I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make reference to it. But it only works because it's Jericho doing it.
I think that sentence applies to this whole segment. Yeah. It didn't. For the people who really enjoyed it, it's because Jericho is amazing and he can get over inanimate object after inanimate object. So again, sorry, we got caught up in ourselves. Jericho says he's not going to give Orange Cassidy another match, even though the demos want it and the advertisers and whatnot. Orange Cassidy comes out, does a low effort thumbs down, and orange juice falls from the ceiling and covers the Inner Circle, and Ortiz starts to sell it by standing back up and getting down, kind of like the milk truck segment with the invasion.
Well, also because he can't swim. And so I think he just went into panic mode.
Poor guy getting PTSD from Stadium Stampede. So yeah, Jericho also sold it fantastically. Someone threw him a towel, and he opens the towel, and it's just a large print of Orange Cassidy's face. That only made Jericho more infuriated. And Jericho was incredibly funny on commentary for the rest of the night, just talking about how sticky he was. The last line of the entire show was, "I'm covered in orange juice." Like, and JR does the sign-off line.
And JR says, "You stink."
Yeah.
And JR's sign-off line. The other line from that really made me laugh is when Jericho does get onto commentary, very, very upset, and they're playing replays, and he's really angry that they're playing replays, and JR and Excalibur are playing dumb. They don't know who called for the replay, and Excalibur just goes, well, apparently I've heard the 18 to 49 demographic loves an instant replay.
Yeah.
And the line that made me laugh was when JR says, something smells tropical, and Jericho says, oh, that's just my cologne. It's not the fact that he's covered in orange juice. It's just his cologne.
Yeah. And it's difficult to critique this segment now because us saying these things is quite funny. But unfortunately, watching it and going back and watching it, I didn't find it funny. And I actually found it quite lame. Mm-hmm. And I do agree that if it was in another company, because it was, this is right out of sports entertainment, having a liquid dumped on someone from above. This isn't kind of what I wanted from AEW at the start before it launched, but it does fit within the whole campy Jericho tone. I didn't like it, and then it cuts to Marco Stunt in an interview before their match, following that segment, and Marco Stunt is just doing this fake guffawing about, oh my god, that was so funny, did you just see that? And I just that's bad. That we say that, we criticize WWE for that all the time, and I did think it wasn't as bad as the worst stuff, and for this sort of segment it was okay, but it was this sort of segment.
Yeah. As I said, I thought it was very silly. I don't think I really liked it much. I certainly could have done without it. the plus sides to this, if I can find some plus sides to it, I thought there was some good character work from Jericho in that Orange Cassidy didn't really have to do much to goad a rematch out of him. All he had to do was just throw some orange juice over him, and all of a sudden Jericho is, giving him that rematch. Not only that, but you set up a match with Marco Stunt and I think it's Luchasaurus for next week. So there's some positive to take out. The other line that did really make me laugh is when Jericho said that Orange Cassidy comes out and Jericho says, "I'm not going to be scared of someone wearing a jacket," or "You can't be scared of someone wearing a jacket and sunglasses," when he's wearing a jacket and sunglasses. So to pull the real positive out of this, Jericho was very good. But overall, I did not like the segment.
Yeah, imagine this segment without Jericho's promo skills.
Yeah.
So they're lucky they've got Jericho. It wasn't for me, but all power to you if you enjoyed it. Just shows how into the characters you are, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got the Jurassic Express versus Elite match, which we've already covered. It was really, really fun. Jericho had a great line in this where he said, I think Excalibur said he's 65 million years old about Luchasaurus, and Jericho says he wants to see a birth certificate.
Very good.
And then we got all the sort of Kenny stuff. Shida had a very brief interview backstage.
Yeah, well, she was essentially pointing out that they've got a very small women's division at the moment, so she's welcome to all challengers, including Nyla Rose. And we're going to see some of that next week because they announced a match for next week between Diamante and Ivelisse, which are quite good. Diamante obviously she was associated with Santana and Ortiz back in Impact Wrestling, so I wonder if they might do something around that.
Yeah, then we got Moxley cutting a really good promo before his match, and it was. So what essentially happened in the 10 minutes between the Kenny Omega heel turn and the main event was Shida got a very short interview. Brandy and Ali, as the Nightmare Sisters, came out for a women's tag match and squashed Kenzie Page and MJ Jenkins, essentially two enhancement talents right now, in a very quick match, which was fine. And then Nyla Rose came out and said, my big announcement is Vicky Guerrero's my manager. That's all about 10 minutes. And it was all very rushed. And it wasn't, Vicky Guerrero is here, cool. But I would say none of these segments were particularly given much attention or emphasis or were particularly good, actually. And it just, I called out AEW for it in my review earlier for just, it's so hard to get invested in the women's division because you'll take a step forward with, oh, that was a really good match. And then a couple of steps back with where it's, this felt like a massive afterthought. Oh, we've got to put on some women's segments. Let's cram it literally in the bit where people typically are brought down before the main event. And a few comments said, look, hey, AEW have found themselves in they've been dealt a bad hand with injuries and COVID, of course. Their roster was more international than most. But, other companies are doing very well with their women's division. It's not like they haven't got the talent there right now. Big Swole, you didn't need to ride her out. You didn't need to suspend her. That was you. That wasn't a legit suspension. You could have built her up. As much as I think the Britt Baker storyline's fun. Shida's still there. Penelope Ford's still there. I don't know what to say. It's the same mistakes week after week.
It is the same stuff week in, week out. The Nightmare Sisters match, I've got one note. They win. There really wasn't much to say about it. Really, the biggest criticism I can give against that match is just show us Dark, man. Just show us replays of Dark. You can tell us all you want. Oh, by the way, they're getting a lot of wins on Dark. You could show some of that stuff while they're making their entrance to really build this and make this angle feel a bit more than just a squash match. But they chose not to. They just chose to have Ali and Brandy Rose come out and get the win. So, there's that. And then shout out to all those people that called that Vicky Guerrero would be the manager of Nyla Rose. I was kind of hoping it would be Jazz. You were one of them. There was a lot of people that did that. I was the only person I think was, being like, I don't think it'll be Vicky because I don't see that pairing work. And visually, I still don't think it particularly works. Vicky doesn't feel like the manager of a badass, unstoppable monster. She's the manager of goofy heels. And I don't want Nyla Rose to become a goofy heel. But, Vicky Guerrero does now have the best music in AEW. And I thought she cut a really good promo for Nyla Rose. But it's kind of what we've been saying about the Iconics and Ruby Riott. At least they're getting something, as if that is like, that's the lowest bar, really. It's like, well, at least it's something. But it shouldn't just be that, man. It shouldn't that shouldn't be the bar that we're looking to get over.
Yeah, on Vicky as Nyla Rose's manager, she does have an incredible ability to get heat. I hated her back in the day. It was go away heat from me. I didn't enjoy her as a screen presence, not in a fun heel way. I think she's gotten so much better since then. But maybe that's because she's used in very limited capacities in the last couple of years, which is when I've enjoyed her most in her career, actually. So jury's out. I'm hoping it's good, but yeah, I'm not crazy excited about Nyla Rose being with Vicky Guerrero. However, I thought the main event was terrific.
Yeah. I've seen some people say that they didn't particularly like the finish. I loved the finish of this match. I thought the finish of this match was actually a stroke of genius. I really enjoyed this match. I'm massively into Brian Cage. I really like the way that he works. It was great to see Moxley back and defending the title. Moxley is kind of in that he's in that Drew McIntyre phase at the moment where it's like, I'm gutted there's no crowd here because you're not getting that big babyface championship run because you haven't got that babyface crowd behind you. But I like watching Moxley work, and I really like watching Brian Cage work, and I loved watching these two work together. But the finish was it was so good because it was all set up last week and in Moxley's promo. Because Taz's promo last week was, you can't pin him with a paradigm shift. His neck's too big. So Moxley was like, cool. Well, they'll just go after the bicep then. That surgically repaired bicep that you've got that delays you from joining AEW. I'm just going to target that instead then. I'm not going to be hidden about it. So that's what he did. And he went after the arm. Cage wasn't going to... Cage might have tapped out from that. But the reason that Taz threw in that towel is he's protecting his investment. I don't want to see him go out for another 5 months. So I need to throw in the towel now, lose this battle to win the bigger war down the line.
Yeah, I thought so good, and it was real as well. Like the elements of sports realism that they brought into it, I thought only enhanced the story that they were trying to tell. When Taz cut a in-ring pre-match promo before Moxley came out, and he said, he accused Moxley of spreading rumors about whether Cage could wrestle or not, and this fake injury, whereas Moxie's just been sitting at home on his ass, not really training or anything. Cage has been on a full-time training schedule. That's exactly what a promoter or a manager would do for a boxer or something. People sometimes, because everyone looks at Shawn Michaels as such a great storyteller because he's so good at selling with these over-the-top, oh, my arm, and it works really well for him. But I think the far more realistic way of doing that is if you're in a fight, a professional combat sport, you wouldn't go, oh, no, my arm, don't stop hitting my arm. It paints a target on it. Yeah. So Taz and Brian Cage all the way through this match, they're trying to underplay it because they know that's the real weakness. But Moxley's so smart, targets him. They worked stiff as well, I thought. They really took chunks out of each other, brawling around the ring at one point. Sick German suplex from Cage on Mox onto a guardrail, propped up against the ring apron. Wicked spot there. Cage just leaping up for a seamless moonsault at one point. And yeah, that paradigm shift, kick out strong at 2. How often do we see that? Because of the neck muscles.
Exactly. Taz didn't lie. Taz isn't wrong. That's another sign of a very good manager, that you now believe what he's saying. When he's talking about, here's why these moves matter, you're like, oh yeah. And he was right on that one. The paradigm shift does not work on Brian Cage.
Do you know what? I'd be really interested because we haven't really seen this kind of story told in AEW before. And it's something that aligns so much with what Taz seems to be interested in, which is, kind of this MMA level of detail towards how a wrestling match would unfold. So he's talking about the muscles in the neck and how certain moves aren't effective against this kind of body type. So because that's been an influx with Taz, I wonder how much creative input he has backstage in his bits. Like, is it a case of Tony Khan and whoever sitting down with Mox, Taz, Brian Cage and saying, hey, what do you got? Like, here's where we need to go. But what do you reckon the best way to tell the story is? And they just throw around some ideas. And that's why you get these new, fresh takes on how to tell wrestling, as opposed to the, sort of standard same stories copy and pasted from other feuds we get in other companies.
I think you might be onto something with that. But, that you could always tell a segment that Heyman's written, like back before he was like head of creative on Raw, when he was just doing all of Brock's stuff. And it wasn't just because Brock was there. You could feel Heyman's fingerprints over a segment. I think you might be onto something there. Like with each wrestler's storyline they're going, you can feel their own fingerprints on these stories. Like I can feel FTR's fingerprints and the Lucha Brothers fingerprints on their match and that finish. Like that feels like a finish that they have worked on together. The Lucha Brothers, being like, oh, that's a DQ in Mexico. You'd be like, okay, cool. Well, let's work. I 100%. I think you're onto something there.
Kenny's storyline just fits with all the great character detail work he's done throughout his career. Jericho's camp stuff, that's totally his kind of comedy. Cody loves WCW. Arm Tully for Horsemen, let's make it happen. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to see those different. We both did that at the same time. Then
I saw that. Yeah,
got a message from our security. Yeah, no. Okay, we'll move on. Sorry, Vince. Tony's saying that the money's cleared. Nice, cheers.
It nearly didn't go through because we were so critical of the women's division, but no, he's changed his mind and it is going to clear now.
Yeah, that's good. And that's not even when the show ended. This brilliant finish where Taz throws in the towel after Moxley's had just sort of a few minutes of armbar variations on Brian Cage's arm. So Cage is annoyed afterwards, gets the FTW belt. Love that that's a thing. He was billed as it when he came out as well. They made Justin Roberts say it. And he attacks Mox. Then the lights cut out. And then the lights come back on. There's Darby Allin on the top turnbuckle. And he just does a skateboardy thing right onto Brian Cage's face.
Loved it. And Taz then has to pull him back and be like, now's not the time. Because Taz knows his guy has got this potential injury that Mox was just working over. So now is not the time to be attacking this little Allen kid. Like, we'll do that another time, pulling it back. So, but Brian Cage is this hothead, so he's trying to charge forward. Referees are coming out and like crew are coming out to separate them. This really chaotic finish. You got Moxley just standing there with his little swagger, looking at Darby Allin and being like, yeah, I like the way you work. I like the things that you do. I thought it was a really cool finish to the show. I really, really liked that main event. And I loved that finish. Really, really liked it.
Yeah. That Darby Allin Cage storyline has been building since
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. Yeah. Just excellent stuff. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I love the show, but the women's division stuff is just quite embarrassing, and the orange juice segment didn't work for me in any way, really. Also, we should probably mention it that there were a lot of people in the crowd, and they mostly had masks on, but then sometimes they didn't. And Moxley and Cassidy both came out through the crowd, so I just we criticize WWE for this all the time. We've got to do the same for AEW. It's reckless, and I thought AEW were better than this.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't see much of a point of selling a beach towel on AEWshop.com when people shouldn't really be going to beaches at the moment.
So let's do our AEW shout outs, and then we'll get in with all of your super chats. So this is for $25 a month or more. Pledge hammers on Patreon. Thanks so much. You're so generous. Sayonara, Cheney Grant.
Very nice. The real boss, Matt Robinson.
Oh, yeah. The Joker, Dave Heath.
Ooh. The monster among Patreons, Brian Strowman.
Evan, great Scott.
Great Scott indeed. Former star athlete, now head coach, Lendell Brenson.
Thank you, Lendell. The baddest boy, Joey Gianella. Slightly different.
The Schrock master, Austin Schrock.
Oh, how do you like them apples, Marcel Durer? It was apple flavored.
Very much. I think he's talking to you, Damian Thompson.
Woohoo. Joseph Starsky and McClutchian. Let the pop culture references continue.
They drew first blood, not me, Grace Rambo.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, our wonderful moderators. Who's up in the mods today? Les and Modmother. Thank you.
Good. And those Patreon backers. And if you are one of our Patreon backers up in the live stream or in the comments watching this, and you're one of our $5 Patreon backers or listen to the podcast, tomorrow morning, WCPW Built to Destroy, me and Adam reviewing the show with his exclusive backstage tales, one of which I don't think he's ever said on a podcast before.
Ooh. Well, that's spicy.
Isn't it just? So about the World Cup. So gonna leave that on the
last call for super chats. Get them in. We're going to be answering every single one now. Josh Dominics. The amount of storytelling this week was incredible. Everything was done for a reason. Kenny kissing goodbye into the camera and Mox's finish were great.
Yeah, loved and you know how you said like you preferred this to the 2 weeks of Fighter Fest. I think that's probably why I did as well. A lot of story here, and I really, really like that.
Matthew Robinson says, "Oh my God, seeing Chris Jericho covered in OJ and having to do commentary is so brilliant."
He was very good, yeah.
He was funny on commentary. James Hanley, Jericho talking about ratings hurt the show for me. Calling himself the demo god did make me laugh every time, though, so I guess I'm part of the problem. Also, I'm covered in orange juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all part of the problem. Let's just admit this. House of Fury. Love to see Bill Alfonso try to become Darby's manager to help against Cage and Taz. Of course, off their ECW history. Also, maybe Spears, FTR, and Pillman for the Four Horsemen.
Oh, yeah. Brian Pillman. Flying Brian Pillman is likely signing with AEW. So, yeah, perhaps.
I think the strength of a Four Horsemen faction is just like how every single one is amazing, like really top tier. So I think you'll want to have Cody in there at least. Omega, Christopher Jazzcat, Omega beats Mox Page. Wait, Omega beats Mox Page and Omega feud for the title.
Yeah, that's
agree.
It's written there for you, man. Absolutely written there for you.
Oh, I can't wait for those matches. Ryan Warren, Miro as one of the members of the Four Horsemen.
Do you know, I'm so sold on the idea of it being Cody, FTR, and Sean Spears. Like that all just works for me so nicely that's the team I want to see now. Like, Daniel M saying, I'd like to see MJF in the team instead of Spears. MJF doesn't work for me in that team.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, MJF would be good in there. Reuniting with Cody. Oof. In their heelish ways. Josh Dominics, his nickname is Concrete Rose, team is Bad Romance.
So it's Sonny
are they all? Yeah, are there more Lady Gaga references than I'm missing then? Is Concrete Rose a Lady Gaga thing?
I'm not sure. Bad Romance, what an absolute banging tune that is, mate.
Brilliant song. It's a capital T. not just a T tune, it's a capital T. The bad one, Ryan B. Bad, Arn and Cody were not on the same page, which makes me think when Cody turns heel, he does it against Arn to join Tully.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's a really interesting point because I think we've all been saying, or assuming that Arn and Tully will almost like join forces to create this Four Horsemen stable. But yeah, what if it is? Because Cody was working against him. Arn was trying to get him in the right headspace. It's always there.
I think Arn and Tully would be a bit messy, actually. So maybe that's the better route. The bad one, Ryan B. Bad. The Marco Stunt Destroyer was a nice move on paper, but with Nick helping them set it up by holding Luchasaurus's leg, looks stupid in my opinion.
I didn't notice it at the time. It was actually
Yeah.
I saw it was Louis Dangle that pointed out on Twitter where I was like, oh god, I didn't even notice that Nick was helping him out. You're absolutely right. And like, you know, Sean Rossap posted up, was really the big dickhead that he is, that it was too many people helping each other to make the move look a bit too fluid.
Yeah. Sometimes there's always the cool defense, which I'm going to put in here. It was cool. So I enjoyed it. Taylor Peck, that will come and bite me in the arse loads. Taylor Peck, Nyla's manager should have been Ivory, a legend who's far underutilized, a great talker, and knows how to win gold with heel tactics.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sid Art Online, Jericho's segment was WWE bad.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Good, for some reason, the Jericho segment didn't tickle me the way they normally do. LOL. And Lena Bliss says Jericho's segment was amazing.
As I said, man, I think it's just really split opinions.
Mm-hmm.
DX4 Life 1 says, assuming the roster becomes more available later in the year and with additions in both men's and women's, do you think AEW has the depth to run 2 quality weekly Dynamite shows? Well, they've got the deal with TNT for a second show. So, yeah, I mean, one of my bold predictions for 2020 was that they would move Dark to TV. Whether or not they've got the full depth and creative flair to do 2, like a Raw and a SmackDown with the same roster, is a different kettle of fish.
Even if they do have the ability, which, you know, you could, I don't think they should do it. There's too much wrestling out there already. I like Dynamite being its own thing.
KML, censoring myself as I'm not sure if it's a naughty word on YouTube, but I really miss the B word pack. Keep up the good work, guys, and jam the jammy jam.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for the Bastards' return. I'll say it for you.
Chuck Cassis says, Hangman, Cody, and Kenny all have strong storylines building them away from the elite. Are the Young Bucks being left in the dust? That's where I turn to what you said, and I think I can see the Bucks siding with Kenny and keeping that threesome elite together.
I was doing some armchair psychology in my head earlier, and you know how all the co-executive vice presidents were very conscious about pushing themselves to the top of the company as baby faces at the start. Maybe they are more comfortable doing it as heels in kind of like a self-punishing way.
Yeah. Lena Bliss would prefer Sean Spears in the group. He needs this. Let Page cement himself more as a single star. Malcolm Brown, people want to talk about AEW's tag team division being deep, but their commentary team is deep. No Tony, throw in Taz. Taz leaves, come on down, demo god.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. And they've got, you know, who else is on their commentary team who's really good?
I think that's it.
Taz does Dark, and
Taz does Dark with the scalp.
Yeah. It's an excellent commentary team.
Christopher Jazzcat, Orange Cassidy to the New Blood, confirmed. Marco Talent 12. I thought the OJ bath was fine in return for weeks of OJ-based harassment. Poop and slime a juvenile. Orange juice is poetic justice.
Yeah, I can see you can make the argument for that. But you are debating the nature of the liquid. Yeah. So it is a bit minutiae.
Dried chicken without flavor. I'm predicting Jericho versus Tyson for Double or Nothing 3. Give Mike Tyson more time to get in wrestling shape.
Yeah, I think whatever plans they've got, they should hold off until they can have loads of fans back. And maybe that is next May.
Marco Talent 12. I think AEW doesn't care about its women's division is harsh. It definitely needs work, but you're making out like they're not doing anything. I mean,
but they aren't. Like they keep doing some. It feels like they're doing something, but they're not. Like, what really have they done? Why is the women's division worse now than it is when it started? And it was never really that. You know, it was never the heights that they had promised from the offset.
It just, okay. When Mox got out of his feud with Brody Lee, went straight into a feud with Brian Cage, and they made a big deal out of that. Kenny and Hangman Page are constantly within feuds with various different teams. FTR have come in and have got this multi-layered storyline with the Young Bucks and these various other teams. There are these stories up and down, like Darby Allin and Brian Cage is, that's a story that's got all these layers to it, and it's up and down the card. Who's Hikaru Shida feuding with? And like, did she
someone from another company?
Did she really have a feud with Penelope Ford? She had a match with her, but did she really have a feud with Penelope Ford? Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. Like, Phil 180 still yet to actually watch an episode of AEW. Religiously go and check out the spots and segments that get you guys super excited. Up next, Marco's Canadian Destroyer.
Yeah, it is fun. Oh, you should. I'll watch a whole episode. They're remarkably well put together. Really can't recommend it enough. Rangers Mayhem. What do you think of the Cleaner coming back with Gallows and Anderson as their version of the Bullet Club? Not for me, really. I think they've done. You want to move forward with stuff.
Yeah.
And you could never really use them.
I'd never really think about Gallows and Anderson because I've always kind of got it in my head they're with Impact and New Japan now. I didn't really think about an AEW thing for them. But yeah, but like next week is when we could be getting some of these ex-WWE guys there. And Cody has got an open challenge.
Christopher Jazzcat, AEW is good, New Japan is still better, and then a few cat emojis, a few heart emojis, and Hiromu.
Oh, Hiromu. That's the scream of anguish on Hiromu at the weekend. Cut me deep.
I'm really looking forward to Takahashi Evil. It feels like brothers going against each other. Anthony Pride, did you see the video podcast with Tony Khan and Eric Bischoff first meeting a couple of days ago? No.
Yeah, I saw it on some people posting about it on Twitter. I've not watched it though. Not watched it.
Oh, Seth Amphetamines. Ollie, check out the 3 new songs by the Front Bottoms. New album, August 21st. Camouflage is the best new song. Been listening to that for months, mate. That was on their Spotify months ago. Glad to see you're a fan too. Joe DeFilippo, jam that jam, and thank you for everything. Much love.
Much
jam
love.
That jam.
Jam that jam.
Michael Dominguez, it's my birthday. Officially a year younger than Luke. Luke, can I get a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Michael Dominguez.
And Ollie, a happy insert random day. Also, Sasha wins and Bailey loses at pay-per-view. Stay cool. Taxel. Taxel, while this episode of Dynamite was great, the real star of Wednesday was Wale. Couldn't stop laughing at the extra Uso best Quizzlemania guest.
Who was that third Uso?
Johnny Uso. Jonathan Uso. It was so funny. It's one of my favorite things we've done this year.
It was so funny, and I was in such like hysterics. And then my wife this morning said, like, "Oh, did you have fun last night?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, how was Wale?" And I was like, "Oh, he's really good." There was this amazing moment during the Artists Collective, and then trying to explain it just made it. It's impossible to explain. It's not funny if you just say it.
Bacon Rasher. Why is Ollie still doing reviews when he doesn't have a clue on wrestling? Wrestle Luke has a certain ring to it. Only messing. Thanks for everything. Last night was quality. Jam that jam. Hashtag 3 Usos. There's 3 Usos. And Rex Ablett finally sucks that the US president can't beat Carino.
We'll all beat it together though.
Yes, so that's all we've got time for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Go and get a Jam That Jam shirt, and also go and join Patreon as well, where you'll not only get shout outs on this very show, but Luke and Adam's WCPW review podcast tomorrow. I can't wait to listen to it. It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds spicy. And go and watch the WrestleTalk news videos that had gone up earlier, and we've got an NXT review video for you later. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling. Bye.
Bye. Ta-ra. See you, ducks.